And it's a much different support hero than we've really seen IX Mike being able to play. This is the first time I believe we're seeing him not on his Bane in quite a bit here. And of course, getting banned out is one thing, but also playing versus Abaddon, another thing that he will never force himself to do. So this Abaddon is going to feel quite nice versus the Tiny, as well as being that save once this Tiny does go in. If you can somehow survive that Avatos combo, there is a very true potential for the turnaround to come out immediately onto Dark Mago specifically, because he is going to be the one out in front tanking a lot of these spells. And that's where a hero like the Leshrac is going to feel very nice for you, because right now Team have very good team fight. And once they get set up, it's very difficult for you to actually start those engagements where NoPing, they're leaning into it a little bit here with their Magic Burst. Of course, Sand King, one of the most proven offlaners, was gushing about it earlier today just a little bit because of how stable it is from the offlane. First time we're actually getting to see it played today. But in the hands of Oscar, you have to be a little bit concerned, as well as stylistically playing very well versus the type of lineup that Team are trying to get going here, where you put the Leshrac out in front, the Undying stands behind it, and then the Mars readies for the counter initiation, where Sand King makes that initiation just that little bit more difficult for the Mars to get. But also, if you're not careful, the Lesh just dies out in front. You have to be so cautious whenever those early pushes actually come forward from Team, because NoPing, if they want, they TP two heroes down there. If their double blink timing is looking good, Senking and Tiny jump you, and Undying can't do enough to help you in that situation.
You've got a little bit of save, but not quite enough to stand up against that kind of onslaught. So it'll be interesting to see the timing for the Tiny and the Sand King and whether they can put that kind of aggressive push together, because that could be the key for them jumping out to an early lead in the first maybe 20 to 25 minutes. So on the team side of things, how do you now deal with that? Tiny and Sand King are going to be looking for you. They can't really afford to go for a carry pick here that's going to be maybe too squishy, too vulnerable. At the same time, in terms of their bans, they're looking at Angel's heroes, and yeah, that's probably a safe bet in any situation. Going up against Angel, kind of just kick that Luna out of the pool right away.
Yeah, and that's where I think the hero pools definitely collide. I think Sammy Boy plays a slightly more active role in his team when it comes to his carry play style, whereas Angel is the exact opposite. He really is the man who's going to let all of his allies die on the other side while he finishes off another item. It's something that's worked extremely well for NoPing in a lot of their games, to his testament, but that's where heroes like the Medusa, the Terrorblade feel incredibly good in his hands. And I think for Team, if they could get a hero like possibly the Bloodseeker or the Morphling, it would feel good. Right now, it is an incredible Morphling game. If you can become the Sand King, if you get Aghanim Scepter and then you go in, it would honestly feel broken, I think, for either team to pick it up. But that's where it is a little bit scary to play Morph on either side, just because on one hand, you're playing versus Tiny Sand King, you're going to get bursted really easily. And then on the other side, you're playing versus Mars Marana, where your lane is terrible. It's incredibly hard to lane that versus that dual lane. So I wonder what we're actually going to see picked up here. And the Anti-Mage ban, really good from NoPing. Anti-Mage, one of the few safe laners that puts a Sand King in the coffin. Anti-Mage just doesn't care about Sand King no matter what you do. Even if you do some creep pull shenanigans, he just chases you down, burns all your mana. It just feels terrible. So perfect ban from NoPing.
Solid bans from NoPing, and actually worth noting, Team looking a little bit further ahead than we were. You were talking about that Morphling pick that was actually banned out by Team. Did not realize that until a few seconds ago. So I don't know. I was listening along. I'm like, yeah, you're right. What, why hasn't anyone taken the Morphling? It was already banned. So makes a little bit of sense now why no one had pulled the trigger on that front. But Team go in for the Weaver pick. We saw all the way back at the start of the day, I think it was Envy on the Weaver in our first series, and well, that Weaver was certainly an interesting pick. You've got the mobility, you've got the damage,
Troll?
You just have to be careful on durability as NoPing. Okay.
They take the Seeker.
Yeah. And it's going to be another position 1 Bloodseeker as Angel will play it. So we saw a lot of that from FG previously, with Mandy sort of taking on that role, and the results weren't great. Into the late game stage, the Bloodseeker really didn't do all that much, so you do have some concerns about that here if you're NoPing. But You've got Tiny and Sand King as your other two cores. It feels like much more than the previous lineups, this is a lineup that could really hit that earlier timing when the Bloodseeker is still more of a direct threat.
Yeah, the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about is you are playing what you talk about whenever it comes to Bloodseeker, the Bloodseeker versus Pango matchup, which is terrible for Pango to deal with, but something that we've seen teams get very comfortable with. Weaver versus Bloodseeker never gets good. It's never something you want to deal with. It's where we see the early Lincoln Spheres comes out and where you be very careful in team fights. Whenever you show your face, you immediately become a target for now Angel to look onto you. I was almost certain that Team were going to go for the Bloodseeker themselves. And of course, maybe if Morphing's in the pool, then NoPing go for it then. But I'm very surprised that they picked the Weaver with the Bloodseeker still in the pool. I don't think it feels fantastic versus the rest
그리고
of Team's
뒤져.
lineup, especially now
그리고
not
뒤져.
having a really natural tomb hitter from anyone on your side. Once these tombstones go down, it's going to be very difficult to dislodge that from the fight. And that's where I think a different type of team fight is going to break out for NoPing, at least ideally. You have to get in and out of these fights very quickly. Otherwise, you are going to get caught in that arena, that tombstone, and you are going to be unable to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. And
So
the good
much
news
blood,
for them,
so
at least, is that their
much
lineup is set up in a
blood.
way where that quick in and out, that hit and run play is very much a possibility for them. You've got the Sand King, the Tiny, the Bloodseeker, who can all just sort of throw those abilities in there, go for the burst damage, and then back away before there's a response. So they have the personnel, they have the potential. We'll see if they have the execution to really make that a reality. Because, as you said, if the fight gets kind of dragged out for a while, that's where you're going to get very concerned about this team fight strength that Team have put together.
Ooh. And again, prodding the mid lane. Gotta be so careful here. I think is it Dark Mago the one that fed First Blood walking up to the, I think it was him. You can never be too sure, but a lot of those South American mid laners do autopilot and just run to the enemy team's high ground, regardless of whether or not they're actually heroes set up to find the punishment.
Yeah, gonna have to be a little bit careful there. Yeah, that's a little routine play. I think it's actually happened to 2 mid laners so far in this event. Don't remember the specifics, but I do believe it happened more than once, as Dark Mako just couldn't help himself. He is going to be able to push his way up there. Spots Ryoya and Mike. Not going to be able to bring him down, but he now can confirm that they're standing there. Throws down the ward for himself, and well, not a whole lot of fireworks here early on, but that is 3 of the 4 bounties going Team's way, as Sammy was actually able to snag one in that east side jungle.
Yeah. Sneaky little play, a play that is really easy to punish, actually, if NoPing were a little bit more aware of it. It's that low-level Skakuchi that really feels terrible. If you ever get caught without it, it is a disaster for you, and that's where I wonder what Slayton's Skillboot is going to be, because this is a really easy lane to pressure the Weaver early on, and if Sammy Boy isn't too careful, there is a lot of magic burst here. At least early on, that Illuminate did not get changed very much, and when it comes to spamming out heroes, it is still basically full force.
Yeah, just see a situation here where if Sammy's not careful in the positioning, an Illuminate could lead into maybe a quick Burrow Strike, and Weaver does not have a lot of HP, so Sammy will have to be very sort of careful about that. And actually, that's the exact combo, but it's not onto Sammy, it was onto the Undying instead, so the same principles apply. IX Mike is maybe a little bit more durable than Sammy, but it's still a lot of damage to take in a short span of time, and well, the Undying should be a little bit better prepared for it, considering the regen he brings to the lane, but that's a combo that they can put together pretty frequently, although as soon as they do it, we do have a pause come out there, so apparently there's a little bit of lag, but it looks like everybody's good to go now, so quick pause, and we're back into the action.
Yeah, and it's something that Sammy Boy will always need to consider, especially when it comes to contesting these waves. Unfortunately, there goes the courier. At least it was able to deliver his wand, which is going to be pretty nice for him. But again, it's early levels in Weaver. It is very difficult to walk up to the lane whenever you don't have your Shikuchi. You need to be very conscious, and unfortunately for Sladen, actually gets his sentry taken out pretty early on here, and sentries are going to be critical in this lane. If Oscar doesn't have vision for that Burrow Strike, he needs to land it before that Illuminate ever goes forward. That's the key aspect of this lane.
Time being, Sammy, well, not overly concerned with the aggression that can come against him. He is going to sort of take the Burrow Strike hit there, but there's really not a whole lot you can do in terms of dealing with some of this aggression. I mean, he's just going to have to sit here and try to go for his own last hits no matter what, but with the vision down from the obs ward, they're at least going to be able to keep a closer eye on Sladen, and maybe that'll just have to be enough. Keep an eye on the Coddle. If he sort of disappears for a little bit, then you need to start thinking over how close you are to that Sand King. But other than that, Sammy just got to play it straight. Look for the last hits. Mike will be the one who's responsible for sort of applying that harassment as... Well, he's throwing out the occasional decay, nothing too crazy. We haven't seen him commit that second skill point, though, and this is part of the reason why. If Sammy is really getting hit up, yeah, Soul Rip can come in. It's only level 1, so it's not a crazy amount of HP, but could be enough to make the difference and get Sammy away from trouble.
Yeah, and really, you have to be very cautious whenever you're playing around with creep surpluses here, because of course, you're playing versus the Sand King. I think that all starts because Mike goes for the single pull there, and if he's not too careful, it's very easy, and Mike, he's got a big stick, but okay, bait
he's gonna
Oscar.
try to turn. Yeah, can they get Oscar here? He'll pop a Fairy Fire, and
Got him.
not enough. They hit him up with the Decay, and only level 1, but Decay does the work. The Soul Rip was there, and now Sladen. He's gonna pop his own wand, and Sammy deciding that's not quite worth it. The Shiguchi was coming back up, so there was a chance he could have maybe pushed for a little bit more, but he's not going to take that risk. Meanwhile, that is unfortunate. Mike wanders out of the lane on low HP. Dark Mago was sort of rotating over for the rune, so that's a bit of a freebie for that Tiny.
Yeah, and talking about the middle lane, unfortunately, Dark Mago hasn't scouted out that his small camp is not available to him. It hasn't even spawned up a single time here, and it's quite unfortunate because that's something that Dark Mago really likes to play around. He likes to farm up and then make the rotation on the blink. He doesn't like to force things when he doesn't know if it's going to pan out for him, and he's been very efficient, especially in that large camp instead, just making the best of a worse situation. And okay, we gotta kill bottom again. They gotta be a little bit more careful here. They can't let this Weaver snowball. Once you get level 5, Sammy Boy's also got a range drop already, so this lane gets much more difficult, especially for Sladen.
I just don't think that they really anticipated that the Tombstone was going to be thrown down there. As well, top lane, we got conflicting fights. Panda gets taken down first. Oscar's on the run in the south side jungle. Sammy's going to Shikuchi his way forward, and actually didn't need to. It was the Beetle that got the kill. So Team strike on opposite sides of the map. They get Oscar down bot. They take down the Abaddon up top, and Angel, he's pushing forward here. There's no mana on Brax or Flea, but a little bit aggressive from the Bloodseeker. But with Panda back into the lane, he feels a bit more confident. He'll try to turn around for the fight, but the Rebuke is kind of going to prevent him from really giving that a try.
Yeah, and Angel with a little bit of a crazy skill build here. Blood Rage this early on is more or less a detriment to yourself here. It also ticks down regardless of the Aphotic Shield HP, so you can actually get yourself in some pretty dire straits pretty quickly here if you're not cautious, but it's a risky build, but I guess this is what Angel's comfortable with. No Blood Right, max Thirst, and 1 point in Blood Rage.
It's just not quite what we're used to seeing, but we'll see how it pans out for him. Meanwhile, back down bot, Sladen gonna get hit up again. Mike doesn't have the Tombstone this time as he's a little short on mana, although if you pop the stick... Oh, who needs the stick? They've got it right there. Sladen taken down. Now Oscar, he's still safe in the Sandstorm for the time being, but there's Dust and a couple sentries. So if they really did want that fight, they could have taken it, but at that point, they're going to get the pick off onto the Coddle. Sammy 1-0-3 now, and he's got space to farm in the lane. So why take chances? Why potentially throw away your lead and just let Sammy do his thing? Meanwhile, over in the middle lane, Flea, he's rotated in. He's going to look to secure the rune, but Panda actually grabs it first. Doesn't really do him a lot of good with the Arcane, but couldn't let Flea get it, and definitely did not want to give an Arcane over to the Leshrac.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Sladen, the classic sin of 4 positions, you don't have the bottle actually slotted into your inventory. It goes into the backpack, so Dark Mago's a little bit upset with that, but as long as they can keep this mid tower alive, I'm sure that Dark Mago is fine with anything going on in his lane. Of course, going for the Dark Mago build-up, and with the Coddle, it doesn't matter nearly as much as some other unfortunate cases. But the biggest issue right now for NoPing is that Sammy Boy has really moved past the dangerous part of his hero. He is going to have a very free time and a very easy buildup going forward. And that's where Oscar still needs to be incredibly cautious. You're probably going to see him move into the lanes trying to creep cut because he cannot lane. That's why they're putting so much pressure on him. If he ever walks up too far, and that wasn't even too far, they are very easily able to run up on him. And already level 7 on Sammy Boy. Mike has been taking very little XP for how successful this Weaver lane's been.
And Mike, a little bit maybe overambitious with the tombstone being dropped down there. It came out a little late, so kind of surprised that they throw it out, but it's not going to be that big of a deal. That is a big deal, though. Up top, Brax getting the rotation in from the Leshrac. They drop the arena onto Angel, and they do take him down. So that position 1 Bloodseeker getting hit up for the first time in this game, and it's going to slow the progress. You see the build for him. He's got the power treads up, but that Maelstrom is just now sort of being worked on. So taking him off the map for a little bit, and I mean, a 2k net worth lead for the side of TEAMTEAM just shy of 8 minutes in. That is obviously not insurmountable by any means, but it's a little shocking just how well really all of these lanes have gone. And right on cue, ooh, okay. They don't hit with the stun. They hit with the arrow, though, but by that point, Ryoya's already sort of fading away. But no way of knowing that arrow was going to connect. If he did, maybe they keep on going. But without it, Ryoya simply falls back. But now he's huddled up the Invis rune, so could see another rotation from this Lesh.
Yeah, and that's where it's still difficult for me to believe in Angel going for this many points in the Blood Rage early on. I think that's a large in part why that play gets made. Of course, the haste rune that Ryoya had also definitely helped, as well as the Mars Arena, but it's still a risky farm-oriented playstyle on the Bloodseeker, something that we haven't seen the previous Bloodseekers today go for. They were all going for the Max Bloodright build, and that's where Ryoya, solo kill, looks like it.
For it, he should have it. Angel taken down. His teammates, honestly, they were pretty close, just you don't have that range of movement right now. And Dark Mago, so sort of focused in on getting that blink, which thankfully he did get, but he was so focused on that he wasn't going to be able to move over in time, using the Avatos to farm up some of those camps. So it is unfortunate for Angel as he's taken down again, but TEAMTEAM, they really just keep the pressure on here. We're all of 9 minutes in, and they're finding so many opportunities on the map, and Sammy is just non-existent here, at least on the radar of NoPing. They just can't even think about doing anything to him.
It's what I can only imagine is going to be Dark Mago's time to shine. If he goes towards that bottom lane and they have a successful go from him and Oscar, that would be amazing. They want to take this Weaver off the map as soon as they can. Unfortunately, sick obs placed in the bottom lane by Mike. If he does make that TP rotation, they're going to be very aware of it. There's no smoke on Dark Mago, so he has to be very cautious of the vision from TEAMTEAM. Otherwise, that's going to spoil their play. That's why he's sitting in the fountain right now. He's wondering whether or not he needs to make a TP rotation, and he'll go for it in the mid lane. He sees the DD rune.
And Mike snatches it first, so gonna be able to walk away. Meanwhile, Braxton Fleet with the kill up top, but mid, Dark Mago did make the blink across the river. Very lucky that he doesn't get punished there. If Ryoya had been a little bit closer, well, they might have been able to set up something, but even with Dark Mago getting away, that is still a hero loss in the top lane, as the Coddle was just trying to soak up a little bit of experience. Instead, he gets jumped in on by that Brax Flea duo, and I mean, that duo's got more than enough lockdown and damage to finish off a Coddle all of 10 minutes in.
And look at Mike. He's just playing around. Dark Mago wasn't able to get that initial blink Avatos, so a little bit of time wasted for what is a very efficient player usually when it comes to his rotations, but TEAMTEAM have felt very aware of his presence on the map. They've not been allowing him to get that easy play, and think, yeah, you even see Sammy Boy taking a break from the wave because he knows where the play is coming, and he's not giving it to him at all.
TP's himself mid. While he does so, you see the Leshrac making his way top, so Ryoya, he's going to start looking for objectives. They'll roll the tier 1 top if they can. Meanwhile, Brax actually went for the arena onto Sladen. That sets up for an easy arrow. Actually, well, the arrow not needed. Brax is able to get the kill by himself, so the Mars will strike. Ryoya was then free to take the tower, and now they can stay top if they want, keep on pushing, or can start maybe getting that Leshrac over towards the middle lane if you can get that tier 1 tower as well. This north side jungle for NoPing becomes a lot more hostile.
Yeah, and that's where Dark Mago trying to play off of his ally's vision is sticking here, but it's still no play being made. It isn't the Dark Mago who's popping off a kill per minute after his Blink Dagger is completed, and it's really measured play from Team, not allowing him to actually start to walk away with it. He is taking your jungle away from you, sure, but he also wants to be finding these picks, and if he doesn't, the Tiny really slows down. Even though it does farm pretty fast at those early stages, it really costs so much mana that you don't want to be stuck in this position. You want to find those active picks, and they don't feel comfortable enough looking for them in the top lane. And Brax had a nice spear on his lane there, but there's no easy follow-up for him.
This may be... oh, hold on, we'll get to that in a second. Sladen, well, not a whole lot to be done there. Walks to his death. But now we might be seeing the timing from NoPing that we've finally been sort of waiting for. Oscar did finish off that Blink Dagger. Needs to have it delivered first if he wants to make a play onto the Weaver, but the Weaver's already setting up the vision. Sammy knows something's up, but instead, he'll go on to Mike. Dark Mago is able to find that kill, and now, as I said, you have the Blink Dagger on Dark Mago, you have one on the Sand King. Brax, waiting on his reinforcements. Ryoya will arrive, and that should be enough to sort of break this up. Oh my god, Dark Mago, that's aggressive. He gets off the toss, it's not enough damage. The Illuminate doesn't have the range, and Brax, I mean... he probably should have been dead there with a push that far forward from Dark Mago, but just didn't quite have the damage. Brax falls back, and I don't know. Actually, never mind. They absolutely see it now. Oscar, I thought maybe for a moment he had remained hidden and kept that Blink Dagger, but Ryoya's going to make the jump in, but look at that. Dark Mago actually blinks in. He takes the arrow to the back, however, and that's going to break up this initiation. Panda gets taken down. This is... wait, Panda... he had ult. It didn't. He just gets absolutely destroyed in basically one hit. But now Oscar wants in. There's going to be the blink into the Burrow Strike, but it's onto really the worst possible target of all the heroes. Mike is going to be the one who can sort of absorb that damage as Oscar will fall, and the arrow actually clips Sladen on the back line. It's enough damage to bring him down, and now they want even more. They've got even more. Dark Mago, he's going to try to get that Blink Dagger back up, but Flea is quickly going to cancel it, and I don't know where the Tiny can go, but Panda's going to come in, trying to help him out, dropping the Aphotic Shield, but Sammy will continue to give chase with the Shikuchi. And the Spear Stun comes in, but Sammy got hit up, well, initially, by that Rupture. He's able to time-lapse himself back, and Angel really has no play here. And if NoPing aren't careful, they really don't want to go back in. Ryoya's there. They drop down the arena. Brax was really just waiting for it to come back up. The arrow flies in from the other side. Angel will fall. Panda's dead as well, and this is just... feeding one after another. Okay, Brax may have just saved Oscar's life there with that one. Pushed him up onto the high ground, but the fact remains, sure, Oscar lives that time, but they lose so many heroes. It's 16-2, ET.
Yeah, they are just working their opponents right now. It's a team that honestly looks a little bit like four Zoomers. They're playing so clean off of each other. All of their item timings are blisteringly quick, and they're playing with what feels like so little, but their opponents are also giving them these plays. And okay, sure, you're making this play into Brax mid. You might end up getting him, but you got to be so careful here. You got to get out quick, and I think they might have gotten away with murder, but that's where NoPing have not been clean at all when it comes to their engagements. And okay, Sammy?
Ooh, they spotted him. They can hit him. He has no time lapse for 3 seconds. They need more damage, though, and they don't have it. Sladen, obviously, I mean, he does his best, but he can't really back up the Tiny in that regard. But honestly, that was one of the better executed plays from them to get that kill onto Brax, and they very nearly got Sammy Boy afterwards, which... it kind of tells you a lot of what you need to know about this game when we talk about one of the best executed plays from NoPing being a kill that they almost got, but didn't. But that's the way that they've got to play it. They're down so much right now, but Dark Mago, look at him. He's waiting, seeing who comes forward. Oscar's ready with a blink of his own, so if you're team, you have to be so careful. If you go too far forward, double blink, double stun would be there to set it up. But right now, Mike, very sort of wisely, he's the only one on that front line, the only one they could even potentially see. But now they're looking for the smoke play. Brax, Flea, and Mike are going to look to make a rotation just as Sladen is looking to push in, and he could get caught out there. He has the ward sort of giving him the false impression that there's no one nearby. But I think they want something a little bit more valuable. If they push further to the north, they are going to run into Dark Mago. The question is, can they catch him? Brax has the blink. Good blink forward, but Dark Mega with the better blink back as he's able to avoid it.
Yeah, and I think right now Team Team need to keep this pace. And Dark Mago.
This is not
Scouted by
good.
the ward.
Arena goes down. There's going to be the spear into the arrow. Mike drops down the tombstone. Dark Mago's not dead yet. He does have TPs coming in from Panda. Panda will do everything in his power to try and help, but everything in his power is, unfortunately, not a whole lot. He throws out the coil, he throws out the shield, and then that's pretty much the end of it, as Dark Mago will fall, but now Panda going to get hit up by that spear stun. That pops his ult. The arrow is going to heal him back up, but it also stuns him long enough for Team Team to then finish him off. So even in a scenario where the stun hits a little bit too soon, it's just still perfect to actually net them the kill.
And this is really bad right now for NoPing. They are already more or less wasted Dark Mago's timing here. He doesn't have enough damage to kill off any hero on Team Team until he has that Echo Saber finished up, something that he's not even close to. It feels like they weren't really able to adopt the same style that they typically play around when they have these heroes.
Oh, that's a bait and a half. IX Mike will stand in the middle while Flea and Ryoya make their move. They get the dust onto Oscar, and that's just not fair. Mike is the perfect bait. NoPing thought we can get in quick and easy, but Dark Mago on the Tiny and Oscar on the Sand King do not have the damage at 18 minutes to win a 2v1 against the Undying. That is disastrous. It's horrible. Mike is just able to stand through all of that when he really doesn't have any right surviving there.
Yeah, and it's not just that. You have really big items coming out on the Leshrac. I think that's a full Kaya Sanj now being completed up. Or, okay, went back for what I believe is actually the Hood of Defiance. But this just means that Ryoya is no longer a target. And he was the one player that we didn't really get a chance to talk too much about coming to the draft. But this is another hero that they have been running in a very stable condition. And when you know your mid matchup so early on in the draft, it just means something is going to happen on the map. You get all these objectives more or less for free, and with the way that Ryoya likes to build his Leshrac up, he plays in the nothing to say style where he becomes a pseudo frontliner in the early game. And
okay, they just caught Sammy. Can he get off the time lapse? No, he can't. Nice. That is perfect from NoPing. They just had to scramble together, throwing everything they had, but it's timed out well enough to get them the kill. That is a massive pickoff, and they get the tier 1 tower, so it's a long road to recovery, but that's a step in the right direction, and now they're going to try and chain it in. They did use the Epicenter, so that is one of their big teamfight abilities down, but you still got the Blink Burrow, you still got Dark Mago with the combo, so if they could find someone like Mike, this might be a good pickoff for them. Blink Burrow gets them into the fight. There's going to be the initial stun coming out, but Brax responding with the Arena. Unfortunately, his teammates weren't quite here in time to save him, so both Mike and Brax will go down, but now Ryoya, he's just going to turn on that Pulse Nova. He is tearing through enemies. Dark Mago, though, not dead yet, and actually, okay, Flea will get him there with the second hit from the Starstorm, but it is going to come at a cost. Angel will run down the kill, and actually the gem hit the deck there. It's going to get snatched up by the Courier, though, and they will at least maintain that, but that's 4 dead, and I mean, you get Dark Mago, that part's good, but 4 for 2 in your opponent's favor is not exactly what Team Team had been hoping for. They get a little bit caught out by that initiation.
Yeah, it completely catches them off guard. You don't have BKBs yet up on the Mars, so he dies actually in a lot of that magic burst coming out from NoPing, something that their lineup is still very good at. And even though you were able to control the hill and that tombstone didn't go down until after the fight, they honestly didn't care. Dark Mago was kept alive so long by Pandaboo, even though Pandaboo ended up falling really before his time. It didn't matter. He did his job, and they had to commit so many resources there. And not just that, getting that last toss onto Ryoya where he was unable to get any more spells off. Of course, he had the Pulse Nova running the entire time, but just getting right-click down by Angel, there was no real opportunity. I don't even think Sammy Boy was in that fight. He was instead farming up his side of the map, and I think actually went back to really bite him. I felt like if he was there, there was no way that NoPing could actually win it, or at least they couldn't win it without losing a bunch of their heroes. Instead, the target gets to be that Leshrac one that really likes making himself that target to eat a lot of spells, but only when a hero like Sammy Boy can run around and cause chaos. So I think a little bit of a disconnect there to really get NoPing back into this game.
Yeah, it's still pretty lopsided in terms of the kill count, but net worth-wise, Team only about 2 or 3k ahead, and it looks like they're going to be able to find Sladen here. They do hit him up with that spear stun into the arrow, so that's going to be a quick and easy kill. And Ryoya, while that was going down, it takes the tower. So they are starting to maybe reestablish a little bit of that control, and that is always going to be the thing with this lineup, with the Lesh at the helm. They will have pushing power or tower-taking power that NoPing simply can't match up against. They may have the wave clear, but when it comes down to actually just burning through the towers, the Lesh is, well, really just kind of the best. And now the Lesh is pushing into the Roche Pit alongside his teammates. They should be able to get this one for free.
Yep. Not much that this Aegis actually changes, at least in this stage of the game. It really is just to get the next Roche going, which of course will get the next Roche going, but that's where NoPing are definitely going to take the time given to them because of this Roshan take. You were able to finish off some pretty important items. Most important of all is, of course, being that BKB finished up on the Bloodseeker, where you need to be so quick with your initiations. If Brax is not able to find the immediate spear in that arena, it just means that Angel is going to be able to walk out and ignore you. And it was the same timing we saw in the previous game where Leshrac, who gets ruptured, suddenly gets focused down by a BKB and a very long BKB coming in from the Bloodseeker. Angel's got to be careful here. This is a little bit of a risky position to be in.
Does Brax pull the trigger? Forward. No. Okay. Thought maybe for a second that he would make that move with the blink, but not going to take the risk. I think he's a little wary of the backup that could have been in position, but well, they are going to now TP themselves bot. They're looking for the fight. The tier 2 tower's already been saved, so they could go straight in as Brax. It's a good play to try and go for the dust there, and it does connect, but Oscar's still able to get out. Dark Mago, though, is still on the run. That arrow is not going to hit, but Brax comes in with the spear. That will connect, but Panda's there, immediately removing that debuff, but now the Lesh trying to move forward. Oscar, I'm not sure if he saw the Leshrac, but he is going to be able to stun him up incidentally, but Brax blinks forward. They're looking to keep the fight going. The Lightning Storm comes through for the slow. Oscar will be taken down, and now Panda really has not a whole lot to do. He's going to look for the TP out, but there's absolutely no way that completes. He will be stunned up immediately. His ult gets popped in the process, and you will see this Abba go down as Panda will fall. The tower falls as well, as Sammy was able to claim that objective, and Team just keep on pushing their way forward. Really, anytime they go anywhere, they're able to find some sort of objective, some sort of pickoff. The efficiency is fantastic for them.
And NoPing are really quick at filling the space that their opponents do give over to them, but that's where the smoke from TEAMTEAM is incredibly smart. If they're able to find Dark Mago top, they have this bug still latched onto him. I think he feels like something is up right now, but after committing that TP, they got to be a little bit concerned here, but...
They're going to make the jump. Big stun from Ryoya to start it off. They actually do throw down the Will-O-Wisp, though, from Sladen, so maybe that's enough to get Dark Mago away, and for now, it looks like the answer is yes, but if Lee can hit an arrow, maybe that changes things. The spear doesn't latch to a tree, so the arrow does not have the free connection, but Dark Mago is still on the run, trying to wait out that Blink Dagger. He just needs a few more seconds, but the arena is going to trap him up. Brax is able to clip him just on the edge of it. And that is quite the chase that Dark Mago leads them on, but at the end of the day, he's not able to get out. Team find the kill, and now well, they could try to push the high ground. You gotta maybe bring the Weaver over, but Sammy isn't far enough away where that's not doable. They could bring him in with the next creep wave and really try to get some damage onto that tier 3 tower.
Yeah, and you even see no longer having that spirit form for another 20 seconds. They have quite the big opening to actually play on this tower, and with Glyph being forced out as early as it is,
Oscar.
Yeah, you see Oscar going right now.
There it is, pushing in. They got the Epi, but it's really only onto Mike. The Will-O-Wisp, though, does catch the Leshrac, so he is getting sort of locked down in this, but
Sammy?
They just don't have the damage. Sammy, though, gets caught out in the middle of it, so they were trying to focus in on multiple targets, and they're actually going to get everybody. Mike is dead, Sammy's dead, and oh, the Leshrac's coming back up. Will that Bloodright? No, it was a little bit too early, but Oscar's in there with the Burrow Strike. They get the toss back as well to force everyone into that engagement. Brax and Ryoya both dropping low. Ryoya will fall. If Brax dies as well, that leaves Flea as the only surviving member of TEAMTEAM. That's just a disaster for the TEAMTEAM side and a hell of a defense by NoPing.
Yeah, they started off that fight so good, getting right onto that Weaver there with the initial rupture damage. So Sammy Boy had to walk to the low ground with the Shikuchi, and then actually had to time lapse back up because he took way too much damage. And unfortunately for him, that is right into Angel waiting there with the Basher, with the Blood Rage. And at this stage of the game, with no lifesteal, you see Sammy Boy queuing up the Satanic right after the fact. You can't fight him. And, oh, wow.
They get Flea under the tower. The gem hits the deck. Mike is now going to try to recover it, but he just needs to get back into the base at this point, even using the Tombstone and the Flesh Golem, while Dark Mago, he used his blink to get into the base. He has to turn around now to get that damage onto the Undying, but they will do so. Mike will fall. Yeah, now they got to get out of here. The zombies are in. Panda is going to get trapped up. So too will Oscar, but the shield actually allows him to just leave, well, leave the arena. Now he's trying to leave the fight. He gets himself onto the high ground. Sammy, meanwhile, dropped low. Sammy taken down. I mean, he had time lapse, but he's just locked down by Dark Mago. I think he got him with the full avalanche.
Oh.
And Oscar, he's not dead. Able to walk away. So, NoPing, honestly, I thought they were going to get punished at that point. You dive in, you get Flea, you get Mike. That's all well and good. But with the cores TPing in, thought that was the moment to turn around. Instead, Team are now absolutely just throwing. Really, I mean, there's not a more polite way to put it. Ryoya's picked off here. There was almost nothing to be gained from having him out there. That feels horrible for Team. And the net worth lead, it's entirely gone.
It's the exact opposite of bottom. It's a complete role reversal. It's even a 3k gold lead now in NoPing's favor. It's an exact mirror of what happened just 10 minutes ago. And Team need to itemize to deal with these silences. This is the second time where a hero goes into the Bloodseeker, they get clipped by the Bloodright, and they immediately get punished for it. And without a BKB on Ryoya yet, of course, going for the slightly greedier playstyle, you get silenced, you die. Angel does so much damage at this stage of the game, and this is all off of the strength of him finishing off of just a Basher. That is what the past 8 kills have led from. And you need to really reassess your strength right now. You have not gotten a successful arena. You have no longer gotten any initiations. And of course, you wanted that punish play mid. I think if Sammy Boy doesn't get clipped in the fashion he does, TPing into that tier 2 tower, the cleanup is there, but you have to be way more mindful. A few more misplays like that, and the game is actually looking to be all NoPing, because past few minutes have been completely clean. They've been giving up absolutely nothing.
And now we have to wonder, does Sammy pivot to the BKB? Does the Leshrac do the same? Because, I mean, if they don't look for those BKBs, then you need Lotuses, some sort of cleanse from the teammates to protect you, but, well, we'll see what they can do. They're trying to catch up to Dark Mago. Unfortunately, they can't get to him before he blinks away, so this smoke is not quite going to work out for them. It at least gets them into position to take down some of those wards, but you look at Dark Mago, he's actually looking to jump. Ooh, looking to jump in. He spotted Ryoya. Now he'll go in. There's going to be the avalanche. The toss will come in. Oscar's now looking for the burrow, but Brax is able to push forward. They get the arena down into the Spear Stun that locks the Tiny in place. Dark Mago, though, will activate his BKB, and now Oscar in with the Epicenter, doing a pretty substantial amount of damage initially, but the heals come through from Team. And now they are going to control the fight. They have taken down 3. Angel is completely alone. He'll look for that BKB TP. And that was perfect. Ryoya heals himself up with the Bloodstone. I believe they had the Guardian Greaves in from Flea there as well at the perfect time. A lot of that damage that the Sand King had been hoping to dish out technically applies, but then is immediately sort of removed as Team. That is the fight that they need to try and reestablish control.
Yep, and it's one where Dark Mago gets arrowed right before Pandaboo can actually cleanse it off. He's stuck there with the Aphonic Shield on cooldown for a few seconds, and it's crucial that he gets this BKB before he loses some of that HP, because of course, if you pop that BKB, there's not that much physical damage coming out of Team right now. It is either pure or physical on that Weaver side, but that's where it definitely feels like NoPing are making this game feel a little bit more even. And Angel, who had a perfect play there with the BKB, trying to do as much damage as possible, but after the fact, you see how quickly he has to get out. He knows exactly the position he was in as soon as Dark Mago went down. I really don't think NoPing need to change too much here, but you need to start the fight off right. I think that arrow was a little bit too good from Flea, and that is how he likes to play Mirana. I feel like the arrows are always good from Flea, and even you look at his KDA, 9, 2, and 10, it is still the Flea show, but you got to be careful. NoPing can't allow themselves to look at those extended fights. That's where TEAMTEAM completely outclassed them when it comes to the big heals and the defensive itemization.
Four-man smoke from NoPing, though, so they're looking for the fight. They want better initiation than the last time around, and Slayton, well, okay, Spirit Form's going to come out, so they've got the Will-O-Wisp, they just need the target. They spotted Sammy. That's going to be a very early time lapse, too early, in fact, as he's going to get blown up right away. And with Sammy out of the fight, there really isn't a fight. IX Mike is just trying his best to get out of the Will-O-Wisp, but he can't actually step outside of it. He will be taken down. Panda, meanwhile, just solo took down the Tombstone, and NoPing very, very clean. And Sammy, I don't know, felt a little panicky there, trying to use the time-lapse not for the HP, but for the repositioning, but repositions directly into the waiting arms of the NoPing lineup. They take him down, they get the Tombstone and the Undying, and now they've got Roshan.
Yeah, he more or less time-lapsed in place. He actually traveled pretty much nowhere, and of course, when you aren't set up on TEAMTEAM, that is where NoPing continuously find the successful fights. If they're able to find those pickups like they just were able to, it feels like there is no time for TEAMTEAM to get anything ready. They aren't able to kite out. The Soul Rip doesn't end up landing. There's no Greaves. There's no Arena down. And the fight goes disastrously. And you even see how difficult it is for them to kill that Tombstone after the fact. Of course, Pandaboo was the only one hitting it in that situation, but if they can get set up, it feels like the fights are still very difficult for NoPing to take, but TEAMTEAM, when they split across the map like they have over the past 5 minutes, they give quite the big opening over to their opponents who now have the completed Aegis, and arrow does land on Dark Mago, but
Spirit comes out as well, but here. Oscar in for the burrow, into the Avatos. Brax, there you go. Has to pop the BKB to fall back. The Soul Rip was there. They even used the Guardian Greaves to keep him up, but that's a lot of that healing that's now been expended. But Angel gonna get clipped by the Spear. They do immediately hit him up with a shield, though, but look at that Arena connecting onto 5. The Will-O-Wisp, though, was put in a perfectly defensive position, and they're actually going to be able to turn this one around. They've taken down Mike right away, and now they're hunting onto Ryoya. Can they lock him down? The Abyssal Blade in for the stun, so the Lesh cannot get away. The arrow from Flea, meanwhile, only connects onto the Illusion, so they're still trying to give this a go, but now Sammy trying to push in. He's going to get hit up by the Burrow Strike, though. He time-lapses himself out this time. And TEAMTEAM will successfully fall back, but it's a mad dash into the base for them. And at this point, Angel, well, you see him. He's kind of still going forward. He does have the Aegis, but Dark Mago says, no, we're not using the Aegis here. Tosses his teammate back to safety, and they will reset. But that's a lot TEAMTEAM use, and not only do they fail to get any kills or the Aegis, they actually end up losing one of their own supports. So their chance to initiate, they technically do, just it's better play from the Coddle. That Will-O-Wisp completely breaks it open.
Yep, and that's where the cores on TEAMTEAM, who are still incredibly stubborn, not going for these BKBs, say that we can play around that. We don't need to worry entirely. And Oscar onto Ryoya again.
His teammates, though, distracted by Sammy. They're going to go in for it. If they can get the kill, though, that's more than worth it. The Weaver dropped down, the Weaver taken out. Oscar traded. Now they want more. Mike going to try and sort of stand in front here. That Will-O-Wisp will drag him in once again, but he's really tanky on this Undying, living up to his name. They will not bring him down just yet, but eventually, if no one comes to help, Mike will be whittled away at it, and he should be dying here. As Dark Mago hits him with the toss, Angel finds the kill, and now Angel with the Gleipnir hits up Flea with the root. Dark Mago comes in for the Avalanche, but he had already used the toss, so they don't have that secondary bit of the combo. They do have to fall back, but Angel, oh, look at him go. Dishing out damage onto the Tier 3 tower. Buyback statuses for those two dead heroes on TEAMTEAM, non-existent. They're both missing the gold. And the tower will be taken down. Tier 3 claimed, and a game that started 16-2 in TEAMTEAM's favor now sees them losing the racks, but they are going to try to push in onto Dark Mago. The BKB comes out, though. The Will-O-Wisp deployed. Brax, once his BKB wears off, is caught in the middle of it, so too is Ryoya, but Angel is dropping low. He does have the Aegis to work with, though, so even if they bring him down once, they're going to have to deal with him again, and Dark Mago makes his move, jumping in. There's going to be the Avalanche into the toss. Locking down Brax. Will-O-Wisp still pulls him in one last time, and that's all the time Angel needed to get the last bit of damage in. He finds the kill, godlike now, for this Bloodseeker, and that clears a path. NoPing should be able to claim really at least one of the racks here. If they get the ranged first, they want the melee, as Angel just hit it once. Just hit it once. There you go. Able to bring it down, but that's going to lead into a fight that Ryoya is completely unprepared for. Still no BKB, so he's just locked up and taken down. And at this point, if you're TEAMTEAM, you've already lost the racks. Maybe you just kind of let it go there. They move in not quite one at a time, but pretty close to it, ET, and they get punished severely with both Brax and Ryoya going down.
Oh, and if they walk up to this high ground, Sammy.
Oscar jumps in, Sammy locked down. There's going to be the avalanche. They need the toss. They get the toss. They get the Will-O-Wisp. Sammy was able to get off the time lapse, but it's into the Abyssal Blade stun. He is dead again, and he has no money for his buyback. He is down for quite some time, and NoPing, they smell blood in the water. They're just going to surge their way forward. Mike gets taken down. That's going to lead them directly onto another push onto the racks as they want top this time.
Yep, and their opponents just needed to let them leave. They needed to let everyone go. Unfortunately, now this is just a straight up Rax. And again, it's the BKB. It's the fact that you can't purge the silence. You can't purge that one stun that ends up being a huge chain of disables. And actually, this might just be Megas. I think they're going to have to buy back on anyone, but no one has.
Yeah, there are none available. Meanwhile, this is getting a little bit frustrating. You take a look at the itemization. Technically, that BKB's been queued up, but Sammy is still thousands of gold away from it. The Leshrac, meanwhile, is looking for the Aghanim Scepter pickup. So, at this point, I'm not sure it's going to be enough. It's not as simple a solution as just going for it, but it is remarkable to me, the stubbornness, as you said before, just refusing to pick up that magic immunity, and now, I mean, you're 17k down, you're going up against Mega Creeps, your opponents have absolute control of this map, and I don't know, if it's not the BKB, I'm not really sure that an Aghanim Scepter is going to save the Leshrac in a lot of these situations. Ryoya is just not as tanky as he would like to be.
Yeah, and Angel, and I almost preemptively picks up the Nullifier as well, so it's not even like the Ghost Scepter is going to do much for Ryoya at this stage of the game. I really don't know how they win. They don't play fantastically versus Megas either. Ooh, that's a little awkward. Losing Dark Mago at this stage of the game, but hopefully you can get back soon. But this base defense is incredibly difficult. Of course, you have the Split Earth spam. You are going to be able to at least threaten the NoPing cores if they do go for that initiation. They have to be very concerned with their BKBs. If they get caught after the fact, they can definitely still die under these tier 4 towers. And the issue being that nobody can kill Tombstone is still very, very true in this game. But I also feel like NoPing have been so tight with their initiations. If TEAMTEAM give them a target, they're going to hit it.
And we do have Dark Mago back into the server, and looks like both sides are ready to resume. So we'll see if NoPing can close this one out. They are looking pretty good now, as you see Angel on the prowl. Oscar's going to jump in. They get Sammy Boy. They'll hit him with the Rupture now as well. The Gleipnir comes in for the root. Do they have the damage, though? He's still alive for the time being, but he doesn't get the time lapse off. He is dead. No buyback available. Mike has one, however, so he's back into the fight. But at this point, I don't think it's enough. You see Ryoya on the run, but Oscar, look at that burrow onto 3, just locking down everyone. Flea will fall. Ryoya is dead, and that will be the GG. Wow. NoPing. They don't panic. As I said, there was a point of this game, ET, the kill count was 16-2. 2 kills for NoPing at that point in the match, and they come back and get themselves the win. A lot of grit, a lot of determination, and a lot of taking advantage of NoPing, or excuse me, TEAMTEAM, making some questionable calls here and there as well.
Yeah, and to look even further back, it's the draft. They were able to get Bloodseeker versus the Weaver, and I for sure felt the counter pick in this matchup. I felt like for a while there, TEAMTEAM were actually dominable. I felt like there was no way for NoPing to take any team fight out of them if they were able to get those setups, those arenas were actually landing. And you take a look at the win probability, so did Dota. Dota thought there was no way that they were going to lose, especially with how fast they made that play onto the top tier 3 tower. Unfortunately, that top tier 3 tower is also where the game absolutely fell apart, and I think large in part to Sladen. Sladen was so crucial for every single base defense, every single chain disable. He is the biggest punish for you not going for these BKBs, and of course, that's TEAMTEAM's fault partially there, but every single Will-O-Wisp was on 3, 4, 5-man heroes. Every single pull was what was leading into those blood rights, which crippled every single play that TEAMTEAM tried to make. Sladen, the stand-in, put the team on his back. He is really the one that brought this back from what was a 30k gold lead to a complete reversal. He just played fantastically on that Keeper of the Light.
I cannot recall a Will-O-Wisp that did not straight up win a fight for NoPing, or at least end a fight that Team Team were trying to take. And there were quite a few will-o-wisps that got thrown out there. So as you said, Slayton 2-7-24. That's not the stat line of a game-winning player, but looks can be deceiving. You have strong performances out from the rest of those cores, but without the Coddle, yeah, a lot of those team fights just completely sort of blow up in their face. So Slayton coming up big in that stand-in position, although, to be fair, he never should have been allowed to have that kind of impact. I'm still amazed that we saw Sammy and Ryoya so reluctant to get that BKB purchase.
Yeah, it's a really brazen item build. It's one of those things you do when you're, I think, very ahead in their game. And you'll get the stats. They were completely dominating their opponents. They had so much of the map to themselves. And it all starts off top where they get the pick onto Dark Mago. And then it feels like suddenly NoPing's game is going to fall apart. And then a 5-man will-o-wisp happens. Sammy Boy dies without anything going down. I think the biggest problem that Team Team had there is with the item build that Sammy Boy went for, you give him the first Aegis. Of course, Ryoya wants to be on top of those towers with the Edict, but you give Sammy Boy an Aegis, and that game looks completely different because you can no longer expend that Rupture onto the Weaver quite so freely. Unfortunately, after that top play, everything was downhill from there. It suddenly becomes a completely 50-50 game, and then finally we see NoPing finding those insane initiations, but man, I still can't stop talking about how well Slayton played that Keeper of the Light.
It was absolutely incredible as NoPing, well, we had to wait a long time to see them in action. I believe their first series was way back on day one, but the wait was definitely worth it, at least in that first match. Team probably don't agree, but, you know, it is what it is. NoPing get the win thanks in large part to Slayton's heroics, but now the question is, can NoPing do it again? They got themselves that first win of the day, a 2-0 sweep, especially against a Team lineup that's currently the top team in the group stage. That 2-0 sweep for not just points but tiebreaker purposes could loom large for NoPing's campaign. So we'll see if they can pull it off again. They sort of had to fight their way back from a deficit before, but it was very much doable for them. So we'll see what Game 2 has in store. Our final match of the evening going to be coming up in about 5 to 10 minutes. So we will be hopping away for now, but when we return, Team versus NoPing at each other again. So stick around, and we'll have the Game 2 draft coming your way.